Okay, after the blues boogie riff, page 48, we're going to do what's called rock, riff, and chords. And this is the first time that we are doing a riff part of the way and doing chords mixed in with single note riffs. And the chords we're going to do are just the root fifth chords on the fifth string. Ideally, it's good to touch mute the sixth string when you're doing a fifth string root fifth chord. In this case, you don't absolutely have to, because the end of the riff is the bass note of the chord. And you can move it over. There's a tricky way to do that, and I'll show you that in a minute. But I'm going to play it up to speed. And this is the same riff that Little Richard did in Good Golly, Miss Molly. If you listen to any version of that, in some versions, he recorded it more than once. And in some versions, the guitar's doing the riff. And then in other versions, I know there's another version where the saxophone does the riff. So that was back in rock and roll when you had to have a sax player, man, to be in a rock and roll band. It's not true today so much, but it was back in the 50s. So anyway, here we go. So it's Good Golly, Miss Molly riff. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and keep the first finger anchored. Change. Chords. 2, 2, 4, 2, 2, 2, 4, 2. Do it again. Watch on that ending, you want to put the brakes on. You can slow down a little bit, but also it's written out that way. It's 1 and 2 and 3, 4. So it goes from eighth notes to a quarter note to a half note. Now, what I was saying about getting into the chord to where you're muting the sixth string, if this is too complicated, you can just leave the tip on there and make sure you don't hit the sixth string. Just strum that chord, but if you hit the sixth string, it's going to sound off key, it's going to sound bad. But what you can do is when you're doing the riff, watch how I'm shifting my first finger over. See? So I'm doing the riff. When you do the riff, you need the sixth string to ring, but when you go to this note, you can scoot this over a little bit to where it's touching the sixth string. So watch closely. Do the normal riff. Now I'm going to scoot it over. See how I'm scooting my first finger. And then I can hit that sixth string with the chord and not worry about it. We're also muting the first three strings just by touching with the side of the first finger. So when you're doing root fifth chords, which heavy metal guys call power chords, it really is important to mute all the strings you don't want to hear. So I can just strum all 6 strings, and you only hear those 2. Otherwise, you got all that ringing of open strings. You don't want that. Doesn't sound good, Maybe in some songs it might sound good and it's part of the song, but usually not. So anyway, I'm going to do it slowly. Good Golly, Miss Molly, and what I've got it titled is Rock, Riff, and Chords. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... butchered, man. All right.